to Iconic Talk. This is the Communities Podcast with conversations about real estate, local happenings, and all things Winchester, Virginia. I'm Mark Francis, a local realtor, broker, and owner at Icon Real Estate.
And I'm Megan Eanes, a local realtor for 21 years and part of the Icon Real Estate team. Mark and I are so excited to share everything that we love about Winchester, Virginia with you. We want you to be an informed, savvy real estate consumer in today's ever-changing market.
Yep, if you want local knowledge, you've come to the right place. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to all the listeners, to you, Megan.
Same to you.
Yes, we're not recording this on Thanksgiving. That's
right.
Okay. You know, we're with our families today, but still, it's important to note that today is Thanksgiving.
Right.
We love just doing this every week, and we don't want to take a week off. There's no reason to.
Nope.
Yeah.
We don't want you guys to miss out on a Thursday episode.
Yes. You know, not many holidays happen on a Thursday, but Thanksgiving certainly does.
Right.
And
unless it just accidentally fell, every 6-7 years, however that works.
Yeah, you'll get Christmas, or you'll get, New Year's, or you'll get 4th of July. But yes, this one is every Thursday.
And I love it because
that means Thanksgiving.
Fridays are typically off work too, and for those that have regular day jobs.
Regular jobs, and for me, it's another World Cup game that I get a chance to watch. I'm excited about that. So, go USA. But still, there's something to Thanksgiving that makes you pause and say, yes, what are you thankful for? And we've been doing that historically here for the month of November. So I'll come to you first. What are you thankful for today?
Today, I am thankful for the relationship that I have with my parents and to be able to spend this beautiful day at the beach looking at the ocean with my family.
The beach. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
And we'll get into the details of that a little bit later.
Yeah, we'll hear about that next week, of course, of how the beach Thanksgiving extravaganza went. Well, for me, yes, I do have family scattered all over the place. And, that's historically we've been talking about how, yes, we're thankful for family. But for me, I'm thankful for provision, if that makes sense. And there's something to how you look at a job and you just kind of are assuming, for people who are on salary, that, you get money every week or every other week or every month, and it just kind of comes in. And for the smart people, you have a budget. But there's something to this Thanksgiving holiday that for me, when I'm looking back, I'm like, yes, okay, there has been provision above and beyond what I was expecting in the last several years, especially with COVID and being a real estate agent. You get paid commission,
right?
And it's 100% commission only when houses close.
Right. You can do all of the work and get all the way up to the end of the transaction, and
still
then
not
there are things that can happen.
So you've experienced that this year, I know.
Yes.
But
yes,
so I look back and I still say, yes, I'm thankful for how there's been provision, and many things are within my control that, yes, I do marketing, and there's certain experiences that I have that clients call me back or new people call me. But then there's things that are out of my control. And that's part of where I get thankful as well. And, I look to plenty of you people that know that I go to church and work at church, and I'm like, that's a God kind of thing where I'm like, it's out of my control. And I've had many people who are in sales acknowledge that sometimes, where like there's good years and bad years. You can't control it, and it is what it is. And I look back at these last couple of years and I'm like, wow, like through COVID, there's still been good times, and that's not the case for everyone.
That's true.
So for me personally, I can say I'm thankful for that. But then for those that have had down years, you can look and you can say there's plenty of other things you can be grateful for: health, family, your home. You can go down a list. But for me, that's the one for today. So,
and I would recommend to anybody today to just take a couple minutes and just think about what you're thankful for yourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's sometimes a family tradition. I've heard of plenty of families that do that around the Thanksgiving Day table. Mine doesn't. Like, it's more chaos than anything. But this year for us, we're keeping it small. It's just our family of 4 and my grandmother. So
that'll be nice.
Yep. So that's the world that we're living in this year, which is going to be calm and peaceful. So that's another thing I can be thankful for. But when it comes to looking back historically, I want to take a moment for this episode to talk about the real estate market. Why was there success? Why has there been success? And where are we now? And it's funny because you and I, we've chatted about this all the time, Megan, but we had an Icon team meeting where we kind of went through some of these points where we're thinking, okay, people ask me all the time, they ask you all the time, what's happening in real estate right now? That's the common theme. That's the common question. And we've touched on this many episodes at a time, and on a quarterly basis, not on a regular routine. I feel like here on this podcast, we're like, let's give a little State of the Union, a little update on what's happening in the real estate world. So what are people asking you those same questions? And
they are.
What are you telling them?
I'm telling them just kind of, it's still a decent interest rate. I had this conversation actually last night. We were celebrating my sister's birthday because we're not going to be with her. We'll be at the beach. She'll be here actually. So we had a family dinner last night, and I was talking to my dad, and I mentioned what the interest rates were. And there's so many people, and that's that generation that, you say the rates are around 7%. And they're like, 7%, that's awesome.
They're like, I remember back in the day where there was 15, 16%.
His first
higher.
thing was, I remember 18%. So
right.
There are so many people that the rates, I think a lot of people do get nervous because the rates have gone higher. But then you've got so many others that, it doesn't faze them.
Yeah.
And I think one of my favorite things, I'm going to have to slow it down and say it slowly, is what did Mike said. No, it wasn't Mike. It was Matt said it. What do you say? Marry the house and date the rate.
Oh, at a team meeting,
yep.
One of our agents. Yes.
And
Matt
I love
said
that.
Yes.
Look for the house. And I love that because people are so nervous, I think, about that interest rate, but that's not what it's about.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah. And something about looking historically is important, but don't get obsessed with what has happened in the past.
Exactly.
And we've talked about that, of the recession. That word is thrown around a lot, and is that something that we're in right now? The recession of 2008, 2009, that time period, the house market crashing then. Different experiences, different time frame, different circumstances that we can look back to. So I like to just give like a little historical perspective, and this is my answer in a long-winded way of when somebody asks me, what do you say about the market? My easy answer is I say, yes, it was a crazy market several months ago. Leading up to that time period, it was a hot, crazy market. Sellers were selling like crazy. Prices were going up. We are now back in what I call a normal real estate market. And we said this on the show before, but here's what I mean by that. You think about pre-COVID. That was somewhat of a normal market. There was still a little bit of low inventory, but there's buyers out there, and the interest rates were really good. And in a normal market in Winchester, you have hot spring season. It slows down in the summer, picks back up in the fall, and then really dips in the winter.
Right.
And then you go through those cycles. That's a seasonal cycle. And I believe that we are in that seasonal cycle now, and here's why. So COVID hit, and the world started to stop. People were panicking. What's going to happen? Buyers did not stop. Buyers did not stop. They were out there in full force. They had their masks on. They're like, we don't care. We don't believe in it. We're going to go risk it, and we're going to go see houses because we want to go buy a house.
Their shoe booties and their masks on,
Absolutely.
their hand sanitizer, and they were going and they were looking.
And that happened. So when you have very basic economics, supply and demand, very little houses for sale at the time, pre-COVID, then you add COVID onto that, not many people were listing their house. Tons of buyers. You then get an influx of tons of offers at one given time. And that happened for the good year as soon as COVID started. Then when people started realizing, I can still do life, more people started to list their house, but the interest rates were still really low. And so that really impacted the supply and demand, to where you fast forward to this past spring of 2022, 2 years post-COVID. We had a very low, super, super low inventory still.
So
and this is the Winchester.
And really
yes,
high.
And it was nationwide, but Winchester so really much so because people were starting to migrate out here from the city. So you have way more buyers than people trying to sell. You have people who were looking to move into the area and not really looking to move out of the area. So local people who wanted just to either upgrade or downgrade their house were scared because there was no houses to to buy, therefore they're not listing their house. So kind of chicken and egg concept there. Now, that's the spring. So let's fast forward to today. What do we explain to people now, right?
Right.
So, because they're hearing all these stories of the interest rates are going up. So let's combine the fact that now interest rates are going up, and what happens when interest rates go up? Just the logical answer.
Yeah, the demand goes down.
Their budgets are going to change.
That too.
So
it's going to cost more.
It's going to cost more to buy a house.
Yep.
So if you think about it, we've gone from low inventory, low interest rates means house prices go up. Now you have high house prices, and now interest rates are going up. And so these buyers of what they're able to afford, their budget has to change. If their budget changes, now we still have high prices and then higher rates. And so it's a sliding scale. Now these buyers' budgets have to come down. So the kind of house that they were thinking they could buy has now changed. They were wanting a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom colonial with a basement, on a couple acres. Now they're realizing I can only get 3 bedrooms and 2 baths and maybe 1 acre. And I might need to fix up the parts of the house.
And I may not get a basement.
And I might not get a basement. So things have changed because the house prices were still inflated from the spring. So now you have buyers who are sad. You have sad buyers who are not able to buy things. What happens when buyers get sad? Like, they're not shopping as much.
Right. And I'm seeing that.
That's where we
a lot
are
of
right
waiting.
now.
Let me just wait it out. I know several buyers that I have that they're in that I'm just going to wait it out. I'm not ready to do it. I'm not ready to change the image of the house that I was going to be buying and moving into.
Yep.
Because in some cases, like let's say you were looking in the $350,000 price range, you could have gotten, a nice single family home, a rancher, split foyer potentially. And then now they're looking at townhouses.
Yeah.
And
right.
They wanted a single family home. They didn't want to have something attached to something else.
Yeah. So you have to change your perspective as a buyer. So we're in the world right now where buyers are pausing their shopping experience. And so if buyers are pausing, I believe they're still out there, but they're not shopping as much right now. I personally had higher hopes for the fall. Honestly.
I remember we talked about it.
I had higher hopes than what has happened and transpired. I do know that the market is still working. There's still houses selling. Things are getting listed. Things are getting under contract. But I was hoping that there'd be a little bit more of a push. And what I was not anticipating, which is where I was wrong, I did not anticipate the buyer pause. The buyer pause is causing now a shift in the market, because what happens when buyers are pausing and they're not shopping, they're not making offers?
Houses are sitting.
Houses are not.
They're not selling.
They're not selling as fast.
Prices are having to be reduced. And
yes. So there's your correction. There's this plateau that we saw in the summer. We're now seeing a little bit of a correction, because if you are trying to sell your house and they're not getting as many showings as you'd hope for, it's not because of the realtor's marketing. It's not because of the weather. It's not because of the season. Right now, it's because the price. The buyers' budgets have changed, and they want to see a deal when they make an offer on something. They want to get the house that they were thinking they could get 6 months ago. That's not going to happen.
Right.
So sellers, though, have to understand that if you're looking to list your house today, and your realtor comes to you with comps, we do research and we look at comparable houses that have sold historically over the spring and summer to lead you, to give you a good perspective of what your house is worth. You look at those comps, but now you're going to have to take off 5%, 10%, and come down from what those comp averages would suggest.
Right. The values are definitely lower than when they were just even in May.
Yes.
June.
Yes. So
before July.
So you have sad buyers out there,
Right.
and now you have sad sellers out there. So the encouragement of this episode to buyers and sellers is this. This is a normal market, people. Okay, it's not normal to sell your house in the first weekend with multiple offers.
For over asking.
It's not normal to have a 3% interest rate. buyers. It's not normal to have that pressure as a buyer to just make an offer on the first thing you see because otherwise it's going to leave. We're back to normal. It takes a good 3, 4, 5 weeks to sell a house. It takes maybe only 1 or 2 showings a week because buyers have slowed down. Buyers, you can pause, but recognize from a buyer standpoint, this is normal. Don't wait any longer because waiting is going to potentially, you might look back and regret that as well.
And still owning, in my opinion, is better than renting.
Oh, yeah. Right.
If you're in that position, you can still, and there's different loan programs that are offered now and different ways to be able to kind of offset it. And that's something maybe we can get a lender on here in the near future and kind of talk about some of the new programs.
Yep.
But there are options, and hopefully the rates will maybe go back down. Of course, we can't predict that.
No.
And we're not even going to try.
Not going to try.
But there's always that chance that you buy now, and if the rates do go down in a few years, you might be able to refinance at a lower interest rate.
Yeah.
So there's that potential.
My old adage that I share with any one of my buyers or even sellers is do the best you can do in the time period that you need to buy or sell a house. And right now some buyers are sitting there saying, I don't have to buy. Okay, that's fine. That's fair. But if you want to buy, there's still no grand prediction out there that's a magic ball that's going to say house prices are going to take a huge tank and you're going to get a good deal in the spring. I'm saying that winter is normally slow. Take advantage of that. Take advantage of potentially a slower market in the winter because then when buyers are realizing in 4 or 5 months when spring hits us that, oh, this is my new normal. I am going to be competing against other buyers in the springtime. Winter is going to be a great time to buy.
Because there are still sellers that have to sell.
Sure.
Not that there's plenty, obviously, that want to sell, that want to, downsize or upsize, but there are plenty that need to sell that are transferring. And so
do the best you can do in the market of when you're trying to buy or sell. So buyers, put an offer out there. Sellers, don't just reject straight up offers when they come. Work with people, make it happen, keep the market flowing because that's gonna keep the ball rolling down the hill as best as possible.
And just a friendly reminder, when we say spring market, it's not quite what most people think. It's not when the flowers are coming up. It's February.
Yeah.
It's usually it's actually moved up to about the second week of February.
I love to tell people March is a great time.
Yes, I agree.
For trying to sell a house and buyers jump on things before it gets to be April and May.
Yeah, I see so many that they're like, okay, March is good, but then they want to get that head start and get out there just a little bit beforehand. So I just always think that's interesting. But February, spring market.
So hopefully that's encouraging because I want this to be not a downer to where you're thinking the market is crashing. This is meant to let you know, here's the reality. Yes, things have slowed down. Yes, if you're trying to sell your house, you're not going to get what you thought you could have back in May, which that's hopefully understandable. And buyers realize that this is the new normal.
It's still a good time to buy.
Interest rates are not going to go down. It's still a great option to buy leading into the holiday season if you're ready to do that. Winter is generally a time where it's slower for sellers. So buyers, you can jump on it. So that's the State of the Union in a nutshell. Well, I want to get back to Thanksgiving real quick. I don't know if you knew this or not, but I have family members who are part of the entire Thanksgiving experience way back in the day.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
They were on the Mayflower. And you look about like the Mayflower historically, they say that 1621 is kind of like the first Thanksgiving. And then there's debates about like, okay, what really happened? What's the myth and what's the legend versus what's factual? I don't really care about that. I mean, yes, there were tensions. Obviously, there is the settlers coming in and there is the indigenous people who were there. And yes, there is all kinds of issues with that. So without touching the issues of the social world today, I understand that. We can still understand that Thanksgiving stemmed from this idea of camaraderie and getting along and the Native American people, along with the settlers coming together, had Thanksgiving. And they did it together, and so we want to support that. But my family members, John Alden and Priscilla Mullen, were like one of the first kind of like newlywed couples that occurred here in the New World and came across the Mayflower together and got married. And so they're look them up. They're in history,
Oh,
people.
that's
So
interesting.
that's
Very
my
cool.
that's my plug for Thanksgiving, and do some of your own historical research
So what
today.
what do you typically do with your family? Like, what is a typical Thanksgiving that you kind of have that you've been doing? You said some of them have been kind of crazy this year. A little
Well,
bit
yeah,
more calm.
it's interesting because now that both you and I are getting older and our children are getting older,
What are you
and
talking about?
I don't know. I mean, historically we would go travel, and like we
We are
would
getting
go
older.
to like our grandparents' house or our
Yes.
parents' house, and now that we're in this kind of newer generation of where maybe sometimes we've hosted, where historically we wouldn't have done that. But I can remember as a kid just going to Connecticut. That's where my family is from, and just sitting at like the small kids table, and then having all the big adults around, and it was an all-day event, and then you got to turn the football games on, and you watch that. So that's our tradition. I try to imitate that as best as we can, and there's no real time of where we declare to eat. That's just kind of, we make that up each year of when's the best time
Right.
for everybody.
Well, I've got a relatively small family. Both my parents are only children, so there's no aunts or uncles, and my grandparents all passed away when I was really young. So it's always just been my family typically getting together. My parents have had a beach house down in the Outer Banks in Duck since the 99, I think it was, maybe 2000. I can't exactly remember the date. But ever since then, we try to spend every Thanksgiving
Yep.
at the beach, and it's been
That
wonderful.
sounds
And it's usually
cool.
my brother and my sister can't always make it because of their jobs, but so that's what we do. And it is actually my husband's favorite vacation that we take all year long because
Nice.
it is so peaceful,
Relaxing.
and calm, and relaxing.
Yep.
And there's a turkey trot that happens. I think this might be maybe we're coming up on the 25th or something, that they do in the Outer Banks, and it runs right past our house. So we all cheer on all the runners and stuff for the 5K, and
Cool.
it's just a great experience. We look forward to it every
Well,
year.
yeah, tomorrow my son's going to be going to North Carolina for a big race that, coming off of their state and race a couple weeks ago and all that. So my wife and he are going to be going down there with some of his teammates to go run, and so there's nothing normal about our world right now. I don't know, as far my family's world,
Right.
like there's no tradition that we have to hold on to. So there you go. I mean,
This is kind of the thing that we do. The only year we've taken off has been I can't remember. I think maybe when I was pregnant with my daughter. I don't think we went, just in case
Yeah.
she came a little early.
Yep.
Didn't need to be down in the Outer Banks for that. But other
Yep.
than that, we really make it a habit of going down, and it's just so
amazing.
relaxing and good time with the family and my parents. And so
Well,
very, very grateful for it. So I'm enjoying it.
That's cool. Even though you're not here, like,
Right.
what are the things happening in town for people to turn their attention to? Because you're right. Something about the Friday, day after Thanksgiving, that's insane. That's a shopping day that is like out of control. I try to stay away from stores. I've been out and about for those days before, and like outlet malls and stuff. Never again. I don't want to do that.
I'm not a fan of shopping. I love online shopping. I'm perfectly fine with that. But I have so many friends that they get up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and they're doing the Black Friday
Not me.
stuff. So, but no, thank you.
But what's some cool Black Friday stuff around here?
There's actually going to be an all-night bingo going on. It's on Black Friday at Friendship Fire Company on Pleasant Valley Road. So look into that if you're interested. And then also that's when the Walking in a Wonderland starts in Clearbrook.
Oh, is that starting already?
Yes, that will start
Yeah.
the Friday after Thanksgiving
Cool.
and go through January 1st at Clearbrook Park. It's about a half a mile paved path. It's definitely something to
It's
go
fun.
check out if you haven't seen, with all the different lights, and they've got hundreds of thousands of lights, and Santa and Mrs. Claus are going to be there.
No, that's great. Yeah.
You can take the kids and have them talk to Santa and tell them what they want for Christmas.
And then I love the Winchester Parade.
Me too.
So and I never really knew about it the first several years that I lived here. Not until I started having kids, and then the kids heard about it from their friends, and then being in Boy Scouts, they would march, or a band, they would march. And so over the years, we've just grown to be like, okay, that's our holiday thing. Go down and see the parade, see some friends, see some family, see some, I don't know, lights, and see the tree, and see Santa Claus.
Right.
So, so that's Monday.
That is Monday. Yep. Then that'll be the Christmas tree lighting as well. And I've always loved that. We, of course, I marched in it. I just figured this out the other day. 30 years ago.
Oh,
I was
congratulations!
starting high
Happy
school.
anniversary.
Yeah, I didn't graduate 30 years ago, but yes, I was in. Yes, a long time ago. But then my kids have marched in it as well, and so it's a great event.
Yep. So maybe I'll see you guys out there.
Yep.
Come
If
hunt
you
me
see
down.
us, say hi.
There you go. We'll sip on our apple cider that we'll walk. That's our tradition, is that we'll walk from our house to go downtown.
Oh, that's nice.
Bring some hot coffee, apple cider, something like that, and there we go.
Hopefully we have some dry weather. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
I can handle cold. Wet and cold. No, thank you.
Absolutely. Well,
So-
continue to let us know what you guys want, because we love hearing from you. So thanks for joining us on this episode of Iconic Talk, and we hope you learned something from today's episode. Look forward to sharing more with you next week. I'm excited about our upcoming guests, so just keep us posted on what you guys want to hear. And remember, when you look for a real estate professional, make sure they are experienced, innovative, personal, dedicated, and available.
We appreciate you spending some of your valuable time with us. And if you have a moment, we'd love it if you would leave us a rating and review. And if you're enjoying listening, take a moment to subscribe or share this podcast with your friends.
Yep. Thanks again to our editor extraordinaire, Samantha Talia. Until next time, think Iconic.